favorite DJ Deuce is in the building. Let's get this show started.
Oh, what's up? I'm your host, DJ Deuce, and I'm here with a special guest straight from Cleveland, Ohio, Mr. Eli Moon. What's up, Eli? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
Good, man. You know, we're almost at the end of the year. Winter's around the corner. The freezing's going to start. Not looking forward to it, man. Like I told you backstage, I was getting over a fucking flu, and here I am, and, you know, I'm trying to fight through it now. You know what I mean? So, man, things are good overall, though. I can't complain, though.
I got you. Glad to hear that.
Eli, man, so you're from Cleveland, are you? Were you born and raised in Cleveland?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I always joke that my parents had a West Coast baby born in the East Coast state. Because
I love that. I love that, man.
I went out to Vegas for the first time in February this past year, and my girlfriend didn't want to leave. We got on the plane, and she was very adamant maybe we could figure out a way to stay in maybe another few days and find a way to stay out West Coast. So, yeah, I'm a West Coast baby born in the East Coast state, Cleveland, Ohio. Winters suck, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if your winters are as bad as ours, but even if it's close enough, trust me, man, it's not fun. I just find it drags a little too damn long. I think winter should end right after Christmas. You know what I mean? You open the gifts, the 20 Boxing Day starts, and everything starts to melt. I would be my ideal fucking winter, but it is what it is. So you said you went to Vegas, man. Tell me, how was that? I've never been.
Yeah, so Vegas is like a really different experience. I went with a bunch of family. It was our cousin's 21st birthday, my cousin's 21st birthday. So we were like, okay, let's go to Vegas. We take 20 of us out there, and we're all living on Fremont Street for like 5 days, 5 days and 5 days, 4 nights.
Yeah.
And we're just having a great old time, and you know, it's everything you hear about Vegas. You have some losses at the gambling table. You get a little upset about that. And you just do a bunch of other things that are fun too. Like we went to the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah. That
was so cool. But I mean, I'll tell you, I was tripping the entire time. Obviously everything's legal out there, so we're out there smoking.
Yeah.
And we drank before we went too. So we're crossfaded. Me and my girlfriend Skylar, and we go out there to this wax museum, and the first one we run into is like Tiffany Haddish or something, and I heard a voice go off behind her, and I freaked out. And they have all these like little animated things going on behind them.
Oh,
like,
that's so dope.
Yeah.
So it looks so real, then you hear the voice behind. That's so crazy. Yeah.
It was insane.
Vegas, for me, is a scary spot. Anyone that hangs out with me knows I enjoy to party, and the fact that it doesn't close, I don't know if I can close too, so I have an issue. So
I feel that.
You know what I mean? I remembered we went partying in Cuba, and I don't know what time do bars close at in Cleveland?
What time do they close? Around like 2 a.m.
Okay, so it's similar here too. Okay, so 2 a.m. So I get down to Cuba, and we, you know what I mean? We do the tourist shit, right? We bump into a cab driver that we've seen 3 or 4 times. We're like, take us to a real Cuban bar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, none of this tourist shit. He's like, yeah. So we hop in the cab. We drive like an hour. It's, you know what I mean? At first it sounds cool until you get pulled over by the cops and they have the AKs, and you're like, this is starting to feel a little scary. We get to this bar. It's by the ocean. There's a shitload of people. I don't even think we're going to get in because, that's how it is here. You know what I mean? Right. There's a lineup. Good luck if you don't know anybody, right? So we tell the guy, we're like, listen, tell the doorman we'll give him $50 to skip the line. And he goes to the doorman and he comes back. And this is one honest dude. I'll tell you that right now. Because he said he'll take 10. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you should have took the 50, give Buddy 10 and keep 40 to yourself. But, he was a real honest dude. And we got in there, and it's, cheap bottles. It's Cuba. We're enjoying ourselves. And I said, what time do you guys close out here? He goes, we close early tonight. It's a Tuesday. We close at 5 a.m. Oh. I was like, what? What? I'm going to die if I'm here till 5. If I stay here till 5 a.m., I'm going to die.
That's insane.
And he goes, what time does it close in Canada? And I said, 2 a.m. And he was just like, he looked at me with a disgusted look, like, what's wrong with you guys? I'm like, oh, man. But I love these places. I find the places like Vegas or Cuba that are left open longer, they tend to pace themselves differently than we do. Because I find with us, we're racing the clock till 2. So we're always belligerently. At 2:30, I'm belligerent. Take me to a Denny's or something, feed me, right? But these guys, they just know because there's no hurry. It's open late. It's open all night. Take your time, But you can't change an old dog and treat give me new tricks to an old dog over here. I'm built the way I am though, but it is. But brother, man, music. Are you a musician? Like, do you play instruments at all?
So no, but that's a goal I want in 2023. I'm trying to learn how to play acoustic guitar and piano. Those are like the 2 I have circled.
That's good for you. I find that shit extremely intimidating, man. I'm one of those guys that I don't know. I know everyone that started out in something sucked, but I find when I sucked too bad at it, I got scared and always ran away from it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm terrible.
I don't know. It's something different. Like, I mean, I got an acoustic guitar bought when I was like 15 or 14 years old, and I just never learned how to play it. And then I had an electric guitar bought, and I never learned how to play it. So I'm like, damn, I need to stop wasting my time and actually learn how to play these things.
Good call.
Yeah, I mean, I watch my dude narrator. I mean, that's my brother. He produces, does everything essentially for me. He's my manager. So, but he does all these different instruments, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to learn. He's like, one of these days we should just learn. We should just do it. So we have it circled on the calendar. We're going to try to really start studying and learning how to play some instruments so I can get out there and do them for some of these shows.
Absolutely. It adds. I'm sorry, man. I DJ'd most of my life.
Yeah.
I will pick a live band over a DJ. The energy is totally different. I'm sorry. Sorry to every DJ out there. I know we're more versatile on playing anything we can, but I mean that energy on the stage with the drummer and the guitarist and I'm sorry, nothing compares that, man. But I want to get from the beginning. What got you into music? What drew you in?
Yeah. So I mean, when I was younger, my mom was playing music early in the morning, getting ready for school. So I was listening to old school R&B and hip hop and things of that nature. And then, at night, I'd go to play baseball for my dad, and I'd be listening to country. So music, I was always surrounded around music with sports, and then I was doing sports broadcasting at the time when I got out of high school, and I was trying to figure out, okay, like maybe I can make this happen. And my buddy Joey James actually started making music, and I was like, man, I kind of want to give it a try. So I had done it previously in high school. The back end of my senior year, I was like freestyling with this dude I knew, do some buddies of mine. He lived like 5 streets down, so I just walked down there. I'd rap, I'd go home. That was the first time I started smoking too. So I don't know. I guess like it was something I felt like, let me try different things. So I was smoking, I was trying music, and then I kind of retired it for a little bit. Then fast forward, I'm doing broadcasting for the next like year and a half, and I see my buddy doing it, and I realized, well, why don't I try it? So started making music again. I got in there at Signal Flow Studios with my dude Pharaoh, and from there I kind of, like I said, I met Narrator at Signal Flow not too long after, and the rest is history.
That is crazy, man. I find that, did you find out, because the first time I ever went to a recording studio, I never recorded. I always end up managing and helping out a few guys. I just didn't understand, not that I didn't understand, I didn't know how tracks were completed. You know what I mean? Like how they were formed and put together. And I was always like, interesting. You know what I mean? You have to give some of these engineers some respect, because I've been in a studio where they've made some not so great singers sound pretty good. You know what I mean? Cringing myself, like, damn, how are you gonna make this work? And they're great. They're great at what they do. You know what I mean? But were you like first time you ever in the studio? How was that excitement, and how was that experience for you?
Oh, I mean, everybody thinks they're a superstar the first time they touch into the studio. True. But I mean, it was fun. It was definitely fun. Looking back on it now, I know I was nowhere near where I'm at now as an artist. Yeah. But it was cool. I mean, seeing like myself getting in there and like expressing something that I personally wrote. Like, I mean, I write all my music, so like things that I'm saying are off my chest or off my head, off my mind. Like, so it was cool to be in there and just experience that. The more and more I started experiencing, like, okay, hey, I need to come in here with actually like a plan, because when I first started, it was like, okay, I'd come in with like half wrote songs and like just try to make it happen from there. And I started taking it more seriously. I met Narrator in like really like end of 2019, 2020 range. And we started working together. Not too long after that, I actually bought a beat off of him to work with my dude Pharaoh. I did a song with Jock the Don and Kame, two Cleveland artists out here. So we did that song, and I had Narrator make the cover art. And then after that, I kind of just started hanging around them more. And I was like, hey, why don't we like maybe I start working with you, do a session here or there.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, like I said,
He's a workhorse though. Narrator doesn't stop working, bro.
Yeah, he doesn't. I mean, that man never sleeps. I mean,
Jesus Christ. That guy just doesn't stop working. I'm telling you, man. The dude's an animal, man. What's the hip hop scene out there in Cleveland?
Yeah, it's growing, I'd say. You know, I mean, we have obviously, you know, Kid Cudi, MGK, guys that have made it out. But I mean, it's growing still because I think a lot of people didn't take Cleveland music seriously. Like, everybody likes it when you blow up or you start gaining some traction. Yeah. I think, you know, I would talk to guys from Atlanta, Chicago, different cities that would really just put on for their artists. Like, it didn't matter if you were Chance the Rapper big in Chicago or one of these other smaller guys out there. You were getting respect from just a bunch of people in the city. And I think Cleveland's finally getting to that point where, like, we're seeing different award shows, different bookers, promoters that are really putting on for the city and doing their thing.
Well, I think Cleveland gets it's underrated on how many even like celebrities or athletes or comedians, and it's actually underrated. If you actually really look into it, you're like, oh, another one from Cleveland. Like, you know what I mean? You actually do. They're just not mentioned as much. I don't know if it's because guys are not from a big city like you were mentioning, like Atlanta, Chicago, and New York and stuff. But there is like some great talent that has come out of Cleveland. Oh, yeah. all around talent that has come out of there. But do you find, like, see here where I'm from, I'm in the capital of Canada, right? I find anyone that makes it out here, the first thing they say is Toronto. It's the next biggest city next to us. So, you know what I mean? You'll hear like Belly's from Toronto. Nah, Belly's from down the street. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You'll be like, no, sorry, you're actually from here. But it's just an easier, or I guess it's a bigger recognizable city when people say Toronto, right? So do you guys get something similar like that? Does anyone from Cleveland, you know, mention the next city over, the next, you know?
Yeah, I mean, or it's like different where like people get upset if you mention Cleveland and you're not from Cleveland.
Ooh, okay.
So MGK is from Shaker Heights if you ask some people, which they don't classify as Cleveland. Depends on who you ask.
I like that.
You know, came out of that area and were like, well, he's from Shaker. He's not from Cleveland. So then I got to kind of play my cards right a little bit because, you know, I grew up in Old Brooklyn, which is like really Cleveland. Nobody calls it Old Brooklyn.
Okay.
Then I grew up I went to a suburb called Parma, and Parma is like, it's like in family terms, like I guess Thanksgiving just ended. It's like the aunt you don't want to have to see at Thanksgiving. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta see them. Like that's Parma. And then now I'm in like back in kind of my old stomping grounds a little bit, but yeah, that's it's like the reverse psychology.
I like that though.
Like, are you from Cleveland, or
I like that.
Say you're from Cleveland.
That's dope. I like that though. Now, do you find maybe in Cleveland, I find this is everywhere. Do you find that radio DJs just don't help out the independents enough?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, the whole scene is growing. I think at first it was really tough to get like on the radio back in the day. Like I had some of my buddies, like Narrator, obviously has been doing it for a while. King Pala, who just broke history on iHeart, became the first independent artist since 2016 to be featured on 106.1 and 96.5 FM up here or down here in Cleveland, right? So, but you know, at first it's very tough to see like guys actually trying to put on for these independent artists. You have to pay so much money to get like some sort of streams from or like some sort of play from these guys, and you're starting to see some of these guys finally open up and starting to really want to work with other artists because they see the scene is growing itself, and I think that's allowing more collaboration to happen. Like we're doing a collective called Family Ties. You know, that's me, Narrator, King Pala, and Vice right now, and you know, you see a lot more collaboratives or you know things of that nature here in Cleveland because the scene's growing. People are starting to attach to work with other artists, and that's what DJs involved as well.
Yeah, I think DJs have to step up a little more. And it's not step up in the fact that like just because someone asked them to play a song, if you feel it as a DJ, if you feel this track, they should drop it. That's where I think it. DJs from back in the day used to be the ones that usually, you know, kind of controlled the music industry. If you look at the 80s and 90s, you know, you wanted the DJ to play your shit at the club or at this place or whatever the case may be. And I find that now that most DJs are just playing it safe. You know what I mean? They don't want to
Right.
step outside the box. They don't want to be asked who is this? And I find this is where it's all gone wrong a little bit. Like I used to get asked all the time, like, "Yo, can you play my track?" I'm sitting there, and if you of your boys show up, of course I'm gonna play. You guys are here at my, you know what I mean? My venue, spending money. What's 3 minutes, and making everyone's night? Like what's the big deal here? You know what I mean? So turn around and say no, be a jerk, lose you and your friends never come back. DJs need to step up. That's in my case. You know what I mean? I retired from DJing. I'm retired. I'm just a host now. I'm just a host. That's all I do now. I'm old now. I do not understand some of the new stuff that's coming up. That's when I knew I was getting old. I'm turning into my dad. You know what I mean? I was like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Question for you, brother. Do you remember your first performance? And how did that go, man? How did that go?
Well, so it was at this spot. It was for Temple of Passions. It was called out here in this town called it was like Willowick or Wycliffe, like one of these little tiny cities, like right by like the minor league baseball team for the Cleveland Guardians. So it's like out in that kind of area, like real like country-ish, but like secluded too. So I went out there and did this thing with 9 other artists on the bill, and it was based off ticket sales. You performed wherever you like landed your ticket sales, and I landed I think I landed 9th out of 10th, so I landed the second most sales, and I was like, okay, well, I've never really performed before, so this will be exciting. I went out there, did my thing, and it's funny because my dad, who has always supported me, but when I first started, he was like, man, maybe you should just be a songwriter, dude. Your lyrics are great, which I took as, hey, maybe you're not very good at like actually rapping. Or, like,
I see what you're saying.
So I was like, okay. So I get out there, I do my performance. My mom loves it, is going nuts. I look out there and at one point I made eye contact with my dad, and I just see this big smile across his face. And I was like, oh, I definitely impressed a big man today. So I went to talk to him after the performance, and he goes, dude, I didn't think you had that in you. And for me, that was like, okay, now we got the green light. Now we're going. Now we're going to push forward this music, because not that I wouldn't have before, but now I really convinced my dad, who was arguably my biggest critic when I first started making music. So
that was a fucking great feeling. You know what I mean? Having someone almost like say, okay, I love you and everything, but, you might not be the best at this. And I know, to convince them to do it, that's you're right, man. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That's super cool, man. I always tell people, I got stuck. So I was managing a few guys probably in early 2000s, and this one dude, I said, yo, here's your hype man. And he turned around and he's like, nah, I need you to be my hype man. And I never really thought myself of being the stage guy. I was always behind the scenes, right? And I was like, what? He's like, dude, you recorded every single song with me. You helped me produce every fucking track. You know exactly where I need to breathe. Like, you know what I mean? And he broke it down. He's like, no one knows my tracks as much as you. So we go down to this one little, bar down, actually in the next province over. And I get on, I do my thing, and I don't think much of it, right? And they actually filmed it. So then I watched it, and that's where I critiqued all my mistakes. So I always tell people, man, video your performances and criticize the shit out of them. I kept hyping them, and then when I was done hyping them, I would turn around and stare at them. Yeah. Like, what the fuck was I doing? You know what I mean? So I didn't know I was doing that until I was like, damn. So when I went back on stage with them the second time, I was like, yo, you take that side, I'll take this side. I'm never going to look at you once. We filmed that one, and all of a sudden I'm like, there, we finally got it now. I just need to hear him. I don't need to watch him. I don't need, the crowd's in front of you. But I would have never known what I was doing. Da-da-da. Look at him, stare at him like an idiot. You know what I mean? So I always tell people, video your shit, criticize the shit out of it. I even tell artists all the time, do every show, big or small, man. The more reps you have on stage, the better you become. Because at the end of the day, you can practice all you want in your room, your car, your studio. If you go on that stage and you kind of like have a shitty performance, no one cares. No one cares. You could be the greatest songwriter. If you're on stage with no stage presence, no one cares. It's tough, right? So,
yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of artists too. They want to perform, obviously, for as many people as they want, but I don't think a lot of artists are willing to take those shows where they only are performing for so many people.
It's true.
I mean, I remember when I first started, I was performing for maybe 20 people, maybe 40 people here. 40 was a big deal.
Absolutely.
Like I remember doing the Grog Shop down here in Cleveland, open up for Rip Flames and Pooh Gut. It was a really big show at the time. My dude King Teeth got me on the bill, and I remember just the way it lined up, I was opening for the openers on the card. It was a really big like lineup right before the like New Year's was December 30th was the show. So I'm out there about to perform, and it's probably like 100 people, like just all of a sudden 40, 50 extra people just filed in to join. I'm like, okay, well this is like a really big deal for me. So I think it was cool for me to see myself work up to those levels.
Yeah.
And now where I don't mind if it's, you know, a smaller venue, a bigger venue. I think it's important because you're always making an impression on somebody. You're always there. Somebody new is going to be there. And I want somebody to listen to my music, whether it's 1 or 5 new people that night. That's an impression that I can leave. And I think a lot of artists are missing a lot of layers in this game by just wanting to jump for the big ticket, try to go for these big sweepstakes or these big venues where you can go perform, you know, for another artist. It's like you got to do the little steps, the baby steps here first to get to that
facts.
level. So that's
100% facts, man. As an artist, man, and since you're one guy that writes all your stuff, what's your thoughts on ghostwriting?
I mean, it's not. Here's the thing: is like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I want to start offering services to write, you know, my writing for you know, other people if they want to use my lyrics. Ghostwriting, you know, if somebody's got talent, I'm never going to be upset if they are using somebody else's lyrics, because music is like a universal thing. Somebody might not be as good of a writer as they are as an artist or a showman or something. So if they need a little bit of help that way, I'm not opposed to it. Just personally myself, I just have to be saying something that I wrote. Like, unless it's something I collaborated with somebody and we kind of like mutually agreed this is how we're feeling towards this song, I have to write it. That's how I
get it. I couldn't agree with you more. You know what I mean? Sometimes we had a discussion. I don't even remember who it was, and they were totally against ghostwriting. They're like, no, it doesn't make you great, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, well, Jay-Z wrote for Dr. Dre and Snoop on that, you know, Still Dre. Do you diminish Snoop at all as an artist? And the guy's like, well, no. Sometimes you need a little help. Sometimes you need a little push. Sometimes seeing someone else's vision to a beat is just better than yours. You know what I mean? So I'm not totally against it neither. It's just now I find that hip hop becomes so competitive when people start naming, you know, the top 5, top 10. And if you're becoming a person that accepted a ghostwriter in your, you know what I mean, your catalog, it kind of knocks you down a bit, right? So it's I just find it, and it's funny because this, I don't know, I want your opinion on this. Why is hip hop so divided within cities? Or, you know what I mean? Or sections, or east and west. And because rock music and country music, you listen to it, you enjoy it. But hip hop is very divided within its own country, we'll say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, I guess. I mean, it just kind of, hip hop is just like that. It's a different thing. I mean, country, it still has like its split regions where, like, you know, you have different types of country, and it is split in different genres as well. You just recognize it more in hip hop because you're big on repping where you're from, like with the East and West thing, or like territories, or like a different sound. Like if somebody came out of your city, you want to replicate what they sounded like. So that's where the sounds come from. I'm going to rep, you know, they're from Chicago. You're going to rep Chicago. I'm from Cleveland. So I'm going to rep Cleveland just as hard as they're repping Chicago. And I'm going to think that our sound is just like theirs. And I think it's cool though, because then you see like the Midwest has its own sound. Now outside of like Ohio and Michigan and things, you see like Ohio rappers have picked up what Detroit rappers were doing before, and vice versa. You know, and I think that's cool because now you have different sounds. You have that West Coast sound that's been established for a very long time. I think the Midwest is finally starting to kind of establish a real sound, and there's different types of that sound.
Now, who's the biggest artist that's ever come out of Cleveland? Yeah,
that man, in my opinion, like growing up, like I think it's Kid Cudi in artistry. Like, I think it's Kid Cudi because he got out there and started working with Kanye West. I mean, a guy from Cleveland, Ohio, working with one of the biggest producers and artists in the game at the time, and I mean that's incredible in itself. So I'd say Cudi, but I mean
Cudi for sure.
There's a ton I'm missing. I know there is.
Bone Thugs, obviously.
Yep.
But to see with us with Bone Thugs is they came out with their own flow and teamed up with the West Coast. That, you know what I mean? Us from out here, we had no idea where the fuck they were from. You know what I mean? We're just like, who raps like that and so fluid and amazing, and you know, is with Eazy-E over here. You know what I mean? So we always thought that was pretty dope. Then you find out they're from Cleveland, and you're like, damn, all right, cool, man. There's another one for you guys, man. But Kid Cudi, I can't go wrong with that, man. Kid Cudi's definitely a megastar. Now, see, you're an independent artist, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Now, how do you feel like now that you've been independent, you've put music on major streaming platforms? Like, what are your thoughts about it? Like, do you think this is a positive thing or a negative thing?
Like having independent artists out on the scene.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, just the streaming platforms, the way that they are set up for you guys to put up music.
Well, I think they could still be doing a lot better, but I
Yeah.
think independent artists have finally get a little bit of a voice more than they've had in the past.
That's
And I
true.
think that's a growing thing, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like I've had songs taken down before, for no reason, and I've lost out on streams. In the payment.
Really?
Yeah, so I've had some problems with distributing companies in the past before, and that's why I think it's important to keep being like independent. Like the word independent in itself, like you got to keep being independent and find different ways to create your own revenue and maybe find a different way to get your own music out there and find different ways to just do it yourself. I think that's important because unfortunately nobody's really got your back besides yourself and who
That's
you
true.
work with on a personal level.
Because me personally, when I saw these Spotify's, Amazon Music, all that shit, you know what I mean, the iTunes and stuff, I thought it was pretty dope. I was like, oh, cool. Now an artist can put their shit out immediately. I thought that was super cool. But then when you start breaking down numbers, instead of signing with Universal or Sony or whatever the case may be, you just technically signed up to Spotify, or because I think the fractions of the pennies that they give the artists, you just signed to another label without really dealing with label shit. This is how I see it, right? Like some majority of streaming platforms, not all, but I think majority of them was 1 million streams equal to $3,500. And I'm sitting there, if you came to me and be like, yo, Deuce, I got 1 million streams, me and you would be celebrating on like, this is fucking fantastic. What a milestone. And then you'd be like, yeah, but I still have no money. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't have anything really to show. And this is where it breaks it down again. It sucked up. They went, instead of going with quantity, they went with quantity, and they just don't give a shit about the artist itself. So for me, like, I was extremely I thought this was cool, especially as a consumer, grabbing Spotify for $10 a month and listening to what I want, when I want, without ever buying anything again was super dope. But as an artist, when I looked into it, I was like, they're still screwing you guys with your talent. Cause you know how it is. You bought a beat, right? You go to narrator, you obviously buy a quality beat, you give them money. You go to the studio, you start spending money on an engineer. Then you want to spend a bit of money to either promote it. You either want to get a music video for it. Like, do you know how hard it is to capture that money back, especially from a streaming platform? Do you agree that these things should be able to give you guys a little more, or there should be a different method behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see like a different payment method. Definitely. I mean, I cleared 148,000 streams on one of my songs, and I mean, I know there's artists that have collected a lot more streams than that, and would love to see a lot more payment than we're getting. But at the same point in time, you just got to be right now, basically like multifaceted, like being able to do a lot of different things, selling merchandise, going out and doing shows, finding different ways to make money. Because unfortunately, like, nobody wants to see an independent artist win for the most part. That's why it's a big deal when they do win, because while you didn't have millions and millions of dollars backing you while you were making this album, you were doing it from your 9-to-5 job or finding out how to make it happen, or people pulling out their 401ks, pulling out retirements to make things happen. I mean, there's some real true stories I've heard out there for people trying to make it happen as artists. And that's why it's important to keep trying to push as independent artists, because when we win, it's a bigger story, and it helps create more of a spotlight every time one of us do win.
Mm-hmm. I think that's you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head on that one. With once you get your streaming numbers, those are actual proof of what your numbers are. So take those numbers, push yourself a show, hopefully get paid a bit of money from that show. Sell your merchandise, go on, be extremely creative on what you guys do. I couldn't agree with you more. But brother, so like now we talked about your first show. What was your biggest show ever?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say right now, like in terms of like audience wise, it was either the Grog Shop show I did for Rip and Pugutta, or it was the shows we've done here with Family Ties back in June or July. I always mix it up, but June or July, and then October. We did a show. We did 2 different shows at the Odeon Lounge downtown here in Cleveland, Ohio, and they were really important shows because it was doing it with guys that I'm really close with. I met Paula when I was first started making music, I asked him, how do I get on the next show you're on? You know, because my dude Joey James was doing a show with him, and I said, how do I get on the next one? He comes up and gives me 10 different tickets. He goes, here's 10 tickets, boom. If you can sell
That's the
these,
hustle.
I sell
Yep.
these tickets. Rest is history, right? So Paula, you know, we did a show way back when, a few different shows, and we linked back up when I was working with Narrator now at this point. So now us three work together, and then Vice, who was actually doing a show at the Odeon right next door. The first time we did a show together, he swings over, does a performance at the Odeon Lounge, and he gets tied up into this thing we all call Family Ties, which is a collaborative, which, you know, we work together as artists. We have producers that we work with as well, like Narrator, who's multifaceted there, Trey Smith and Trills. Those are 3 producers we have in the
That's
chat.
right.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got a big unit here, so it's like something that's important because I think, as like I said, as the music scene keeps growing, having a collective is huge. And we're not like tied down to like any label, anything like that. It's really just us doing it. So those shows were huge, Family Ties, because it was really like an experience where, you know, my dad went to the show. We had family, friends, people that just wanted to see good music, and it was a good
That's
vibe.
awesome. I
So,
like
yeah.
that. Collabing's important, guys. Anyone that's listening, independent artists, you know what I mean? Collab. Work with other artists, producers. Trust me, make friends with promoters. You know what I mean? Get your foot in the door, man. Like, don't burn bridges. Don't give a fucking promoter a hard time, because then when you burn bridges with promoters, you're not invited back to a club. That's just how it works. Don't do that. Work with them. Learn from them, because if you can learn from a promoter, then you can promote your own events. I'm very big on, you know, whoever you're around, learn. You're like you said, earlier you said you want to learn how to play some instruments. Soon enough, you're going to be producing your own music. Learn with with the people around you, man. That's how you grow. Eli, what is the biggest struggle for you as an artist today, man?
Yeah, staying, you know, as tough it is to say, you know, sometimes staying motivated. You know, I go through a lot of tough spells. Myself, I struggle with anxiety, depression, and OCD. I diagnosed when I was like 14 or 15 years old. So I've always dealt with like always trying to stay one step ahead of myself in terms of a positive light. It's obviously about to start snowing here soon, and I'm pretty frustrated about that.
Oh yeah.
So with that as well, this season's always the toughest for me to be writing music. It has been in the past, just because it's tough for me to stay up positive or just like focused on a task for a long time. So I think that's what it is, staying motivated during the tough times, or if, you know, something's not going my way for a few weeks. Sometimes I can get stuck in a spell, and I've been really more so focused on like finding ways to stay focused, stay at the task at hand, and things of that nature. My girlfriend's huge into like nature. Narrator's big into nature, and so they were both talking to me about going and checking out like the botanical gardens, which are like these things, like it's like this big like thing here in Cleveland where like there's a bunch of flowers and plants and stuff. So like that's like a little getaway I have now. It's like I went there. I'm telling you, I got lost for like 3 to 4 hours stuck in the tree. I would have never thought in a million years I'd be looking at plants and flowers and like, oh yeah, I'm never planning on leaving here. And I was stuck there for 4 or 5 hours. So just finding ways to like meditate, be caught in the moment, and really be positive. Like that's where I try to defeat those struggles of being just stuck in my own head. And I think that's a big thing. That's why I talk about that in my music. You know, it's okay not to be okay. We just got to keep on pushing through.
Yeah, that's facts, man. And you know what? For people that don't know, our winters are long, man. It gets to you.
Yeah.
February, I'm a different human being in February, bro. I'm not very fun to be around. I'll tell you that. I'm grumpy as fuck. I'm angry and cold. My feet and boots are wet. I'm tired. Like, let's wrap this up. You know what I mean? I hate winter. You know, I need to get out of here. Trust me, bro. I've been. The older I got, the more I'm like, fuck, man. I just got to go find some job in Hawaii and host a podcast from over there. You know what I mean?
Hey,
That's all I need to do. You know what I mean? Fuck that. I need to get out. What am I doing? I can't live here forever. I'm gonna be. I'll go crazy. It's too much, man.
Right.
Eli, is there any artist or anyone around you that, like, what was the best piece of advice that you have ever gotten from someone?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll be honest. One of my buddies who's been big in the R&B scene here in Cleveland, Dre Walton. One time I kept sending him a bunch of like songs, or just kept like saying like, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?" And one time he stopped me and just goes, "Hey, like I like the song, but like stop making music for other people. Make music for you." He's like,
Yeah.
so often we get caught making music, and this has been reiterated by a few other people too. But I remember him saying this to me one time, and it just caught me. He said, so often we're stuck trying to make music that other people are gonna like, or the new fad in the world, the new
That's
craze
true.
in the world, and we should be making music that we want to make. That's what's important, is we're making music that we want to make and we want to hear. And there's people that will like it and people won't like it. But at the end of the day, if you're not making it for yourself, then you're really missing the whole point of being an artist and being a creative person.
No, I like that. It's true. It's funny because Bam, my co-host, right now, the reason why he's not here tonight is because he's actually moving to, and he doesn't have internet access yet. So, I told him,
Okay.
you know what, Bam, if you're listening, I needed a break from you, anyways. But he says the same thing, man. He goes when he comes about music, he's a little older than I am, and he's like, I don't care what people think. I did it for me. And I always respected that, you know what I mean? And that is great advice to give to anybody, or even, accept it to yourself. But like talking about, you just mentioned, you might make some music that people don't like or don't enjoy or whatever. How do you deal with those types of haters, especially in a social media world that we live in?
Oh, I mean, so the thing is, like, I've been bullied in high school. I've dealt with people in the past that haven't liked me. And at this point in my life, I'm just living life and loving who, whoever wants to be involved in my life and in my journey, it's all love. And I really don't, it doesn't bother me at this point, because I've heard the critics. I've heard people laughing at me at shows when I first started making music. And me pushing through to the point where those critics turned into people that were now DMing me, telling me, hey, I like your music. Like, you did a good job on this song. Like, nothing bothers me at this point anymore, because I am making music for myself. I'm making music that I know people want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's music that is important to hear. So I'm not too concerned about people that don't like me. There's enough people, and I always say there's enough land in this earth and enough
Yeah.
oceans and whatever, that we can all just do our own damn thing, and you don't have to be worried about me, and I don't have to worry about you. And that's a beautiful thing.
It's funny because I always said that I always try to find solutions about things, right? As a producer, we used to tell people like, I always ask a producer, like, what if you made a great beat and, the artist butchered it? You know what I mean? And this is your beat. I'm like, there should be a clause where you're allowed to take it back. You know what I mean? We're trying to always like come up with these things. And one of the things we came up with is this: let's say if I was going to write a bad review on you, or, or write something nasty, that right before you press send, it says, fill out your information, your name, your address. Because then it make people think twice about, oh shit, maybe I don't really want him to know everything about me, even though I'm being a total fucking jerk to someone. You know what I mean? Because I find it's very easy. There's someone taking a shit right now with their phone, just writing stupid comments on Instagram on everybody's stuff. Like, that's what there's people out there just can't wait to wild you right up. I had a 10-year-old driving me crazy on Instagram one time, Bam loved it. He wanted to get the kid on the show, but
Yeah.
he drove me nuts. I was like, man, I'm gonna whoop you and your dad when I see you, but whatever,
Yeah.
But it's tough though. You're right. The more you do things, the more you start to realize, people are gonna hate. There's nothing we can do about it. And soon enough, I think the hating aspect of life, witnessing so many haters hate on purpose, they're the ones that are just gonna look stupid. You know what I mean? When you read a stupid comment, you'd be like, look at this guy's a dumbass. Like, it's going to turn to that part. Because now, like, people are not even being funny anymore. You're just being ignorant. And, you know what I mean? I don't know. It drives me nuts. But I'm really happy that you can look past that and fight through that shit. Because I still get a little bit angry. You know what I mean? I get angry for about 20 minutes, Eli. I've gotten better. I used to ruin my whole day, but now I'm at 20 minutes. I'm good.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm Irish, man. So I get pretty angry pretty quickly. So that's why I try to minimize it. And, it's like, at the same point in time, I'm on a mission right now. I'm on a mission to push my message, to get my message out there. So I can't be upset with anything else that's not on my journey, on my path. I'm on a path right now, and if something is irrelevant or not pertaining to my path, then I'm not going to focus on it. So I'm very focused right now, and I've been doing this for, making music for 5 years, and I feel a different way about it now than, I've always loved it, but I love it in such a way now that
that's so good, man.
I'm focused right now.
See, like this podcast for me, it was something when I quit DJing, It was a good friend, another DJ friend of mine, good like my brother, and he's like, "Yo, start a podcast." And I was like, I was like, no idea how to start a podcast. You know, I spin music. I don't know how to do this. You know, and he broke my balls, and he went on, and I talked to Bam. Bam's like, "That we're gonna do it," and you know what I mean? I ended up falling in love with it. And the reason why I fell in love with it is because I got to meet people like you. I get to meet everyone all over. Like, even though we're not even in the same country, we get to meet and talk. You know what I mean? Right. So for me, at the end of the day, especially throughout the pandemic, where we're all fucking trapped, for me, it was like I was trapped, but then I wasn't trapped once I got on the podcast. You know what I mean? We were talking with people all over, which is great. And for me, it opened a bunch of doors. I got to meet a whole lot of people. I got to interview people I never even thought I was going to ever interview in my life. Like, not even, you know what I mean? Never thought it was going to happen. Just for us to make the doors have opened for us. It's been pretty cool. We just can't wait to take the show on the road now. That's our next big thing. You know what I mean? So we have all the mics and cameras ready. So as soon as everything gets settled in, and once our winter gets the hell out of here one more time, we want to take this on the road for sure, bro.
But, yeah, man. You're gonna have to come see Cleveland,
dude. That's we have a friend named Jay that passed away, man. Rest in peace, Jay. But Jay broke my balls to come to Cleveland every time, man. Every single time, Jay would be like, "Man, you gotta come see Nara. Come down to Cleveland, man." And he always broke my balls. And the time that he actually went and saw you guys last, it was probably the time I could have went, and I didn't get invited because I said no too many times. And I saw the pictures, and that's when I saw you guys performing. You guys were on the gram, you guys were all performing. Man, you guys look like you had a blast, man. Like, definitely, like, no, Cleveland, man. You guys, he definitely attached us to you guys. You know what I mean? And Cleveland's definitely somewhere where we definitely want to stop by for sure, man. You guys are some good dudes, man, for sure. We love Jay, man. Yeah. I'm happy you got to meet him in person, though. Jay's definitely a good character, bro.
Man, man, and the craziest thing ever is like Jay got like super close with my dad in a short time. Like, he knew my dad, and like I remember, you know, I still remember hearing the news when he passed away, and I mean, I remember talking to my dad, and my dad was just as shook as we all were, like, because he was like, "Dude, we just shared a shot together at the
like
show."
Literally, wasn't it like a week or so, like the weekend before or something? Yeah. Trust me, man. I was at work and Caleb Simmons posted it up early on the gram.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I was like, you're a bit in denial. You're like, sorry, he's from another province. He got miscommunicated. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, right. No. So I went and talked to like I messaged his wife and our good friend. Did Skittles go down with you guys that time? DJ Skittles?
Skittles was down
there. Yeah. So I messaged him and he went, yeah. And I was like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, when you're at work and you sink into your chair for 20 minutes, like, you're like, this is impossible. Like, because I was just at his house before he went out, and I was just like, man. And I always tell people, and I told people on the podcast and the following podcast, man, guys, like, don't take advantage of your life, man. Like 2022 for us had a lot of people that we knew passed away. That shouldn't have, you know, at all, like not even a thought process, not even a blimp on the radar, and you're like, holy fuck, there's a reality check here, you know what I mean? And he was only 27, so you got to live your life, man. But I'm really happy you got to meet him, man. And Jay did definitely connect us guys with you guys from Cleveland, man. That's a fact. We're definitely going to do that move, man, for sure. Yeah. Brother, was there anything you would change today about the music industry?
Yeah, I think just being yourself. I think there's a lot of cookie cutter-esque like music in this industry at this point. Everybody sounds the same. Everybody's talking about the same things: guns, violence, drugs, women, whatever have you. And I mean, it's okay to talk about certain things. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I love 50 Cent, and like 50, I don't make anywhere close to the same music 50 Cent makes, but I appreciate it. Yeah. But you gotta be yourself. I get up there and I talk about being, positive, love, things of that nature. If I'm down, I'm going to be talking about the struggles that I've been going through that other people may experience, mental health, things of that nature. I'm going to talk about real things and be myself so that when, I look back 20, 30 years and I'm still doing this music thing, I can say, dang, I never switched up or had to find myself 15 years down the line. I was doing my own thing. But I think a lot of people, at least in Cleveland, I'd say in other cities as well, want to just find the quickest way to get noticed in the city, whether that's talking to being cool with a certain promoter, or just sounding a certain way. I think people are just so quick to chase that spotlight that they don't want to enjoy the little grind that you have to go on to get to these certain things. Like I was kind of touching on earlier. I think too many people are too quick to jump to the prizes before going through the things that you have to go through to get to those.
But the people that technically jump to the prize,
Right.
you'll know there won't be no longevity with that type of artist. There's nothing there. It's maybe a one hit, two hits, on to the next. And it's funny because back when I was growing up, like if you're a one hit, two hit single, like you kind of got laughed at. Now today it's like super accepted. Sounding that was an issue when I was DJing about like when I was like I was DJing a lot, maybe about 3-4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
And when the new music had come out, I could literally I know who it was playing because obviously it was on my laptop. But if I should close my ears, I couldn't fucking tell you who it was. They all sounded the same. They literally like, and it was always like, and I found that the generation under me wanted the next, didn't, how can I explain this? They wanted the next thing. They didn't even want to enjoy what was in front of them now. They wanted the next thing, the little pump. And then there was the next, you know what I mean? The Takashi. Then it was like, it was always someone else. There was no longevity on who they hung out with. Me growing up in the early 90s, my first rap album was Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
So Snoop was always, there's going to be an attached to me and his Doggy Style album. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's my album. You play that, I morphed into like 14 years old again. Like that's me. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I remembered every summer there'd be a hit. And, like Fat Joe would come out with Lean Back, and there was a hit. There was that whole summer it would be Lean Back. And you remember that summer. I don't think there is that type of music anymore that brings you back to a time, in your life. I find everything is just in and out, in and out, in and out. You know what I mean? Like no offense, Drake's Canadian. Drake's a great artist. But how many fucking albums does he have? How much shit does this guy really need to talk about? You know what I mean? I'm like, come on.
And the new stuff's kind of lame at this point. I put the new album on him and 21's new album, and I remember playing it just like the one morning. My girlfriend was like, "Man, he just sounds the same in everything he's doing nowadays. It's just trash. Like, turn it off." She wasn't happy with it, and I think that's like just a reflection in the music industry when like guys that like are the best of like the generation we know is getting told that we're hearing that he's getting old. He's talking about the same things, and like we need a change. And I think too many times we try to recycle the past and try to like recapture things of the past instead of actually create something that can live on for future generations. We're too worried about doing, oh, well, this sounded cool back 15 years ago, let's bring it back. And it's cool to reflect on the past, but we got to do something in this modern era that sticks so that we can keep pushing music forward, because the past generations did what they had to do to leave some sort of impact. We haven't done anything really, it feels like, in the last 5-10 years to really leave a certain impact in the music sound, the sound wise. I say behind the scenes, we're really improving, I'd say, the last 10
facts.
years. Yeah, I think that's where we would be more improving.
What are your thoughts with all the violence and like, like it's to a point where if you hear a rapper getting shot and died, that it's almost not to be a jerk or insensitive, but it almost doesn't even affect you anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, because when what's his name from Migos just got shot there. Takeoff. Yeah. I had like this girl that listens to our podcast all the time, Wanda. And what's up, Wanda, if you're listening? She's like, how about you, would you mention that? I was like, but I just had a podcast not too long ago where I had a list of rappers that died, that got killed. Now I feels like my podcast is going to start getting repetitive on some, so I'm like, I don't even want to touch it anymore. Like I'm tired of what's going on. And so what are your thoughts about that, brother?
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's sad when anybody passes away, first off. But it's kind of like, some of the things that some of these artists are talking about brings the, what you talk about usually is what the company you bring or what you're going to be kind of bringing in your life. Like if you're talking about a lot of violence and guns and drama or violence, things of that nature, then it's going to more so be involved in your life, or it's going to be one of those things that is constantly in your life. So it's sad. I'm sick of like seeing people dying constantly, or just people getting, falling down the wrong paths here. I've had buddies of mine that have fallen down the wrong path, got caught up in things they shouldn't have been caught up in, aren't here with us anymore. So it frustrates me when we're still promoting things that aren't going to prolong life, but rather conclude lives a lot quicker. And that's not cool. We need
I just
people
get
living-
angry because
Yeah.
you hear he's like, oh, he's playing dice. And I'm like, take your fucking self out of this situation.
Right.
You did everything in your power to be successful with some money, to not be playing dice. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I get it. You know, it's in you. You grew up, but I mean, well, what's the point of being successful if you're going to just go back to that? And it's like, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, and I don't know if there's not the mentor. I don't know if it's the old school not mentoring the new school. I don't know what it is. But like, and I don't know, social media is definitely no help, because it's like if you and I had beef and it's serious beef and I'm posting up where I am right now, I just told you and your people where I'm at right now in my stories. You know what I mean? And it's like, guys, if you guys are going to start shit, stop posting the shit. Like, stop being like, come get me, I'm right here, you know? And it's a reality check. Like, there's been so many rappers that died and got killed, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, when does it's not even slowing down. It's at a pace where it's ridiculous. You're literally, if you say I'm a rapper, there's a chance you're gonna die. Like, this is what that's at the rate it's going at, and it's just very sad. And you know what I mean? It's not even about music anymore. It's stupidity. Yeah. Like, stop the violence. Enjoy the music. Make some music. I wish some of these guys instead of shooting each other, they would just collab. You know what I mean? We'd have probably some fucking major hits out there.
Yeah,
but it's a sad moment.
It's bad. It's bad. I mean, like, we just got to get past it. We got to get back to a point in music where, yeah, you're gonna have people that are like, you know, obviously we have all different types of music for a reason. But we got to get back to a point in music where we're really appreciating, like you said, like appreciating the actual sound of music. Actually, just doing this for the real reason. Like, music was created to feel good, to like actually feel something, and not take you know, I don't know, there's just too much backstage politics a lot of times in music nowadays that ruins a lot of good things.
Eli, I want to know your top 5 rappers, man.
Ooh, that's tough.
In no specific order.
Yeah. Oh, man, right now in the game, I'd say, if we're just going right based off the game,
your top 5 in general. It could be right now, past, present, future, whatever.
Yeah, so I'll just go off my influences, and more so like I'm a big Mac Miller guy.
Nice.
Mac Miller, right? So Mac. I'm big on J. Cole. I like J. Cole, and I mean, his longevity is huge. So
fuck yeah.
I like J. Cole. I would go with Chance the Rapper. Now, I'm not a big fan of a lot of his newer stuff. Now, the highs and lows he just did with I think Joey Badass, that was cool. And then there's some other music he's done that's cool recently, but like The Big Day, I did not like at all. But if you go past that,
his Doritos commercial killed me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. But I loved Acid Rap and I loved 10 Day. Like, those two mixtapes stuck with me when I was first looking into making music and trying to find like influences. Chance was that guy. So like Mac, Chance the Rapper, J. Cole, and then like I guess like right now I'd say I'm a huge JID fan.
Okay.
I think his album he just dropped was some serious heat. And then I mean, it's always a toss up, but I just because I like obviously grew up with his music. Like, the first CD I ever picked up and listened to rap wise was Eminem's Encore. First song I ever listened to was Mockingbird. Now, I'm not a fan of like the newer stuff he's been coming out with, but just out of respect for the guy himself, I'd probably have to put Eminem in there because he's an influence of mine. And like I said, he's the first guy I ever listened to in that genre. So
nice. That's a great list, man. You named some killers there. Don't get me wrong, man. And people that don't understand J. Cole's fucking following, like that dude, as an independent, good for him. Congratulations, bro. Like, wow. Yeah. He's the blueprint of what people should strive to be, man, in the music business. Straight up, man. Straight up. Now, if there was an artist you wanted to collab with and a producer, who would they be, man?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. Producer-wise, we always talk about loyalty and just things of that nature. But narrator's the guy. Like, unless I'm doing something with like Paula or something along the lines, or like Vice working with one of their producers, I'm working with narrator. But I do want to do a track with Smino. Smino has been incredible since I started listening to him back in like 2016. And I've always appreciated his music. So I would want to work with Smino. He's done some of my favorite songs. So I think me and him doing something groovy, something wavy would be cool.
Now we mentioned narrator a lot. We had him on here on the when we had the Shooting the Shit podcast. Now we're live on the mic. We're definitely going to get him back on. We're a big fan of his too, man. But like we said, he's a fucking, that dude doesn't stop working. What now for people that don't know him, man? What makes you what are you so attracted of his work ethic? Like, tell me more about him.
I mean, he's very humble. He's probably the most humble human being I know. Him and Paula, I always tell him. I said it's him and Paula that are like the two most humble human beings I know in music. But I mean, narrator's always been a guy that's welcoming of so many people. I mean, I've been at the studio with him for a full day before, where I've done a session and somebody that makes completely different music than I do comes in. You know, here we got like, you know, trap music, street music, you know, boom. And then we have somebody come in that's doing pop music, and then somebody's doing straight heavy rock music. And I mean, narrator welcomes every person into his life. Like, unless you do him wrong, you're gonna have a seat at the table with narrator, and that's super, like, that's a super like cool characteristic to have, is like the welcoming aspect. And I think, like, obviously from a work ethic standpoint, like you said, he doesn't stop. Like, he's never sleeping. Like, I can text him at 3 a.m. I can text him at 6. I'm getting a text back usually. So
it's fucking crazy. I know, man. Yeah. I'm an old man that needs naps, not him. I'll tell you that, man. I'll tell you that.
No, he's a superhero, man. He's crazy. Me. I mean, I always say there's no Eli Moon without narrator. I mean, that guy dope, really changed my trajectory in music. So
that's so good, man. I love to hear stories like that. So now we know you got some advice, some great advice. But do you have any great advice for any upcoming MCs?
Yeah, I would say, you know, just stay positive, stay passionate, and stay on the grind. That's going to create growth. Don't stray away for a quick spotlight. And I mean, it's cool to obviously do these bigger shows, and if you get an opportunity, go do it. But don't fall in love with just these bigger shows, these showcases, things of that nature. Really put your nose to the grind and find growth, so that when you are doing this for 20, 30 years, you'll look back and say, man, I'm glad I was able to really do this the right way and grind the correct way, so that I created longevity. I think that's important. And right now we don't have a lot of longevity in this music game. So I'm trying to be one of those guys that's here for 30, 40 years. Can't get rid of me. So
I love that. So for the people that don't know your music style, what would you call it?
Yeah, for a while I was calling it Rocky Road R&B, because I was making a lot of R&B music. But I don't know. I'm just out the box, man. I'm an out the box artist. You can't put me into a box. I'm making rap, hip hop, rock, pop. I make every type of genre. So I mean, I'm just Eli Moon, man. I mean, I'm an experience.
I like that, because I'm a big fan of being out the box, man. Even with the podcast, someone's like, well, who do you interview? I'm like, I don't know, a spiritual medium one day, an American gladiator the next day, an independent artist the next day. I don't want to be put in the box. We were almost put in the music box for too much. And it's because, like, you know what I mean? When COVID came around, that was who we had a lot of access to, but we didn't want to disown it, but we also weren't, that's not the box we were in. We want to be, I don't know. That's what I love about the podcast. It could be about anything tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I'm the curious. I'm curious. I need to know something about somebody, so I want them on, right? So, like you said, man, outside the box, it's gonna be nice when they start giving out how do you call it? Like music awards, but that's not boxed in neither, right? It's like the best hip. Maybe they're not hip hop. Maybe they're you know what I mean? It'd be like, what about it's the best fucking music, period. You know what I mean? Or lyrics or beats or whatever the case may be, without being in that box. So box is cool.
I think Tyler the Creator, not to interrupt you, my bad, but
no.
I'd say Tyler the Creator is a big influence of mine. I didn't mention earlier that kind of creating that argument, because he won. I think he won Hip Hop Album of the Year with oh my goodness, my brother's gonna kill me. He loves Tyler the Creator, but Igor, he won Igor, you know, like best hip hop album of the year, and he was like, it's not even really a hip hop album, or there was some sort of argument there. So I think he started to create some debate, and now he's like opening the door so I can come in the next year or so and kick the door wide open. And
good.
I'm ready to create that experience type of music. The music is an experience.
That's exactly, the boxes were there because that's what we're learning from history. But now it's time to blend these boxes in, right? It's time to open these things up a little bit. it's cool. Like things evolve all the time, and I think music is still. I still think it has a chance to evolve even further, right? So, and you know what, man, with great producers and artists like yourself, it is the options are there for you guys, and I know you guys are gonna kick the door down and do a really good job. But what's next for you, brother? Do you have anything lined up for yourself?
Yeah, we're working on getting some shows here for the end of the year. Looking to do something out of state. Nothing cement yet, as of now, but we're working. Paula's always looking all over the map, so he'll find
I love
something. We'll
that.
probably be doing something in the States somewhere soon, and I'm planning on dropping an album in the first quarter of next year.
Perfect.
Trying for March, but then I got a few things planned before that. Me and Narrator are trying to work on an EP. We're going to drop a collab EP probably at the beginning of the year next year. So just working on dropping some new music, crisp music that I've really put a lot of time into, and finding shows in a city near you so you can start, more people can figure me out.
I love that, man. I love that. I got your links in the descriptions. I got your Instagram link and I got your link tree so they can get you on YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff. Guys, check out the descriptions. All his links are there. Please follow my man. He's the man they call Moon, Eli Moon, the artist from Cleveland, Ohio. Brother, thank you for spending the afternoon with me, man, and shooting the shit with me and talking music, man. I'd love to have you back on sometime, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, man. And
my pleasure,
enjoy the holidays.
You too, bro. Peace.